Hello, my name is Pippa, and today I'm going to share some information with you about epilepsy. A bit of context for this video. Last week in Shanghai, I had another epileptic seizure, and this is the third fit or seizure that I've had this year. I had one in Budapest, one in the Philippines, and the one last week. And the reason I've decided to make a video is because it happened on the side of a road, just outside a cafe in Shanghai. I was able to see the CCTV footage of me having a seizure. And what I saw in the video really encouraged me to make a film myself, to share my personal experience of having a seizure, so that I can offer some advice to you to try and provide support for your friends with epilepsy, or if you ever see someone having a seizure on the side of the road. So last week it took people watching 2 minutes to come and help. I was having a full seizure on the floor, and a seizure is when your body goes completely paralysed, it's completely rigid, and then you fall on the floor. And then on the floor you start having a very violent reaction, so your body is moving from side to side on the ground. When this is happening, you might also froth at the mouth, so produce foam, and blood as well, because you're biting the inside of your mouth, or you're biting your tongue. So it's quite obvious that someone is having an epileptic fit because of those symptoms. And when you see this happening, particularly if someone is it's changing colour in their face, they might be choking on their own tongue. So it is a really good idea to call the emergency services, which didn't happen last week, and to give the person as much space as possible and make sure that they are having a fit in a safe environment. This means moving any sharp objects out the way, so moving tables, chairs out the way. If they're on the road, trying to protect them to make sure that there are no cars, no traffic that is likely to hit the person having a seizure. What I saw last week is that people picked me up and put me on a table and then held me down whilst I was having a fit. This means that the muscles are actually under more strain, and when the person regains consciousness, they're in a lot of muscular pain because they've met resistance when they're having a seizure. It's also quite dangerous for the people holding them because the person having a seizure is actually very strong at that moment because their muscles are fully engaged. Don't put your fingers in my mouth if I'm having a seizure, because I will bite you, and that will not be nice for you, and that will not be nice for me. So basically just give the person space. But you can find all that information online. The main thing that I really want to talk about in this video is the emotional and psychological impacts of having a seizure, because I don't think it's a illness that people know very much about from the reactions that my friends have had, and I'd like to just share some personal experiences so that for those who have friends with epilepsy, they know how to deal with it in the future. So when you have a seizure, you have about 10 seconds, or I personally have about 10 seconds where I know it's about to happen, and my eyes will start going like this. Yeah, they'll start flicking from side to side. There is nothing I can do to tell anyone or to stop me falling, because my body is completely paralysed, and my brain has already started doing its thing. So basically, you lose all control of your body at that point. And then when you wake up, you will have quite a long period where you are not entirely conscious of what's going on around you, and you have lost all your short-term memory. That means that when you wake up, you don't necessarily know where you are. You don't know what the day is, you don't know what the time is, you don't know how much time has passed, you don't know who the people are around you, even if they're your friends. That can be a really scary feeling for the person waking up, and it's particularly scary if you wake up by yourself, so you don't have your friends around you, and particularly if you're in a foreign country. In February, I woke up in the Philippines on having had a seizure on the side of the road. I woke up surrounded by 5 nice local Filipino people who had helped me, but I had no idea whose house I was in. I had no idea which part of the world I was in. I had to turn on my phone and use Google Maps to locate where I was in the world and realise I was in the Philippines. So that is a really scary thing to experience, and psychologically that has an impact, not just for that day, but actually a long-term psychological impact for the person who has experienced that kind of forgetfulness and feeling of displacement. So that's the first thing. When you're with someone who is regaining consciousness from a seizure, introduce yourself, maybe tell them what they've just been through. If you're their friend, say your name again. Hi, I'm Harry, I'm your friend. I've just seen you go through a seizure. You've been unconscious for 30 minutes, but everything's okay. You're in this building or in this place in the UK and China, and it's the 22nd of April, blah, blah, blah. So give them basic detail so that they feel comfortable and they can just process the information and remember where they are, and that will hopefully make them feel more safe and more comfortable. But the next thing that I really want to emphasize is that actually it takes quite a long time to recover physically and emotionally from a seizure. It can take up to a week physically to recover. Your body has undergone a lot of muscular trauma, so your whole body hurts. You wake up covered in bruises, you have cuts, but also your brain has undergone a lot of pressure, so that can be very painful. You can have a kind of 2-day, very prolonged headache, and everything basically feels like a massive effort for a week. But that's not particularly obvious for people looking at you, because you wake up and you put on your jeans and you go for brunch and you try and get on with your day to tell yourself and prove to other people that everything is fine. But actually it's not that easy to recover from an epileptic fit. And emotionally it can be quite difficult to be reminded that you can collapse at any point with it, well, particularly in my case, but other people's cases I'm sure as well. You have no notice, you have no time to react, so it can happen anywhere. You can be in the bath, you can be crossing a road, so it's not, you know, a permanently life-threatening illness, but it's also it's a challenging one because you don't know when it's gonna come next and you don't know where you're gonna be, but you can't stop what you're doing for that. You've just got to keep going and hope it doesn't happen, and hope at some point the medication will work, even if it doesn't right now. So to be supportive after someone has had a seizure is really important, and trying to link the person's seizure to having a hangover or being a bit forgetful, having a cold, is not a good comparison. But also just trying to understand a bit more about what the person is going through, I think is really helpful, because everyone's form of epilepsy is different, and it manifests in different ways, in different seizures with varying intensity. Just ask them questions about their condition, if they give them the opportunity to talk about it, if they want to. Sadly, I've lost friendships over seizures because people have not known how to act, and instead of asking questions have just kind of run away from it and pretended that it's not a big deal, and not asked any questions about it. And that is not a good way of dealing with it. I think asking someone if they'd like to talk about it is always better, and maybe asking questions about how that person maybe knows if they're happening, or if there's anything they can do, but also just checking up on them on the days after a seizure, not just 10 minutes after, but every day or every 2 days, checking how they're doing, and if they're feeling better, if they want to talk about it. Just keep an eye on the person who's just had a seizure, because it's not super easy. It's not a super easy experience to have. So hopefully this video is useful, and hopefully you'll never have to see someone having a seizure. But if you do, I hope this will help you know what to do. Alright, feel free to ask me any questions, and if you have any feedback, let me know as well. Okay, thank you, bye.